When was the last time you seasoned dinner and paused to consider if the white crystals in your pinch bowl were quietly poisoning your family? Probably never, because it is just salt. It sits beside the stove in every Aussie home, from rental flats in Fitzroy to suburban kitchens in Kellyville. You shake it over morning eggs, rub it into pork crackling, and toss it through pasta water without a second thought. But what if the seasoning you reach for every single day carries a payload of toxic heavy metals, synthetic chemicals, and industrial anti-caking agents that never belong on a dinner plate? Today we are lifting the lid on what independent laboratories, toxicologists, and consumer testing actually uncovered inside the most popular salt brands sitting on Australian supermarket shelves right now. We are talking about everyday staples from Woolworths, Coles, ALDI, and specialty grocers like Harris Farm. By the end of this video, you will know precisely which tubs in the spice aisle are spiked with lead, arsenic, and microplastics, how food giants legally mask industrial additives on nutritional panels, and why the most expensive pink rock salts promoted by wellness influencers are often the filthiest options on the shelf. You will discover why certain trusted household names carry lead levels dozens of times higher than safety thresholds set for children. And right near the finish, I will show you 3 independently verified, genuinely clean brands you can grab this afternoon for just a couple of dollars. Before we drag specific brands into the spotlight, you need to understand how the modern salt industry pulls off this deception. Real salt is simple, pure sodium chloride combined with naturally balanced trace elements. But manufacturing cheap, shelf-stable salt at massive scale is an aggressive chemical business. Table salt is extracted from the ground or salt pans, blasted with extreme heat and chemically washed to strip away every natural element until only isolated sodium chloride remains. Because this stripped chemical absorbs atmospheric moisture and clumps into a brick, factories dump in synthetic anti-caking agents like sodium ferrocyanide and calcium silicate so it pours freely from that plastic shaker forever. To make matters worse, mass-market producers often add simple sugars like dextrose just to prevent added iodine from yellowing and degrading under bright warehouse lights. Think about that. You are buying a savory mineral seasoning, yet getting corn syrup derivatives and cyanide-bonded iron compounds engineered for supply chain longevity rather than human biology. Then there is the massive gourmet boom of pink rock salts, mined from ancient geological seams formed hundreds of millions of years ago. Marketers sell this stuff like edible spiritual enlightenment, whispering about ancient purity and dozens of magical minerals. But basic geology tells a very different story. The exact same rock strata that trap iron oxide for that blush pink hue also concentrate veins of lead, cadmium, arsenic, and aluminium. The darker and prettier the pink crystal in your grinder, the dirtier its heavy metal profile usually is. You think you are paying a premium for pure vitality, but in reality, you are paying 10 times the price for unrefined geological debris that completely skips basic filtration. Once you see the lab sheets on what is genuinely hiding inside these tubs, you will never look at that pink grinder the same way again. Let us start with the blue and white icon you grew up with. Number 10 on our list is Saxa table salt. Owned by food conglomerate Cerebos and sitting on the shelves of every Coles and Woolies across the country, Saxa is what generations of Aussies consider the default baseline of salt. We trust it because our nans used it, but flip that familiar plastic drum over and check the fine print. Anti-caking agent 554, otherwise known as sodium aluminosilicate. It is a synthetic chemical compound added to keep grains tumbling freely from the spout even on humid February mornings in Brisbane. When you shake it onto hot chips, you get a uniform, needle-sharp metallic sting on the tongue, completely devoid of natural mineral depth. At around $2.30 for a 750-gram container, it looks cheap at less than 2 cents a sprinkle, but you are literally paying to ingest synthetic aluminium compounds engineered purely for packaging convenience. Clinical nutritionist Dr. Sarah Lance pointed out in her food additive reviews that daily cumulative exposure to synthetic aluminium silicates adds 0 biological value while burdening kidney filtration pathways. One verified buyer left a brutally honest review. It tastes like crushed sterile rocks and leaves a chalky chemical film on the roof of your mouth. Saxa delivers flawless pouring mechanics at the expense of your gut. Moving from synthetic additives to high-volume budget staples, number 9 is Woolworths table salt. Packaged in a minimalist white container and sold for less than $1, this budget workhorse is bought in bulk by cost-conscious households and takeaway shops nationwide. What Woolies does not splash on the front label is the intense chemical processing required to get crude industrial salt to look blindingly white. It is dissolved in water, treated with chemical precipitants to strip all organic matter, and boiled dry under high mechanical pressure. Food Standards Australia-New Zealand permits sodium ferrocyanide as anti-caking agent 535, a synthetic compound containing iron bonded to cyanide groups. While regulators insist the bond is stable under standard kitchen heat, artisan salt makers across the world refuse it outright because natural salt never needs synthetic stabilizers. It hits your tongue with a flat, biting burn that tastes more like pool chlorine than ocean seasoning. At 90 cents a kilogram, you are getting bleached, industrially hollowed sodium stripped of every living mineral. Chemist Dr. Mark Donahoe noted that highly refined chemical salts deliver rapid sodium spikes into the bloodstream without any buffering minerals. A classic customer comment sums it up. Cheap as chips, but makes everything taste like sterile bleach. It is the culinary equivalent of drinking tap water straight from an old garden hose. Next up, number 8 is Coles Pink Himalayan Rock Salt Grinder. Coles jumped on the wellness craze and slapped private label branding onto clear plastic grinders sold down every baking aisle. The marketing relies entirely on visual seduction, pretty blush pink bubbles promising pure, unrefined goodness. Independent laboratory screenings of mass-market private label pink salts, however, regularly flag concerning heavy metal markers, including lead levels hovering around 35 to 45 parts per billion, alongside elevated traces of aluminium. Under proposed international safety guidelines for vulnerable populations, lead in basic dietary staples should be as close to zero as physically possible. The grind is harsh, throwing coarse, jagged rock fragments that crunch like grit between your molars, rather than melting smoothly into food. At $3.50 for a 200-gram grinder, you are paying over $17.50 a kilo, nearly 20 times more than standard table salt, just for unrefined pink grit. Food safety analyst Dr. Ian Musgrave stated that the natural rock formations creating pink salt inherently lock in heavy metals from earth crust deposits. One buyer noted, "Half the grinder is rock dust that feels like chewing on beach gravel." You are paying a massive supermarket markup for the privilege of grinding geological debris straight onto dinner. Stepping into the discount giant, number 7 is ALDI Stone Mill Himalayan Pink Salt. ALDI built its empire in Australia on providing premium-looking pantry upgrades for pocket change, and Stone Mill is their flagship seasoning. Millions of Aussie families grind this over weeknight roasts, believing they beat the system with a healthier choice. But here is the dirty secret behind nearly all pink rock salt sold in Australia. Whether high-end or budget, virtually all of it originates from the colossal Kura salt mine in Pakistan. Independent testing on generic Kura rock deposits consistently reveals lead concentrations exceeding 100 parts per billion, along with measurable arsenic and over 150 parts per million of aluminium. The packaging gives you zero batch traceability, zero independent laboratory heavy metal sheets, and zero proof of filtration. The salt delivers an aggressive, earthy tang with a sharp metallic tail that overpowers delicate food. It sells for around $2.69 a grinder, which feels like a bargain until you realize you are dosing your family with unverified rock minerals every day. Toxicologist Dr. Jennifer Brandon noted that rock salt extraction methods and unmonitored crushing introduce significant contamination risks. A reviewer posted, "Bought it for the health benefits, threw it out when I saw the muddy red silt left at the bottom of my soup." ALDI gives you cheap aesthetics while keeping lab results completely in the dark. If you are already itching to run to the kitchen and check your own cupboards, hit subscribe right now, because what we found in the big heritage brands gets substantially rougher from here. Coming in at number 6 is Masterfoods Himalayan Pink Rock Salt. Masterfoods, owned by global titan Mars, is the undisputed king of the Australian supermarket spice rack. When Aussie shoppers see that familiar green logo and glass jar at Woolies or Coles, all critical skepticism vanishes. You assume Australia's biggest spice brand surely tests every single grain. Yet independent testing of mass-market commercial pink salts under similar retail conditions uncovered lead readings of 44.6 parts per billion and aluminium pushing 167 parts per million. Masterfoods prints claims of ancient purity on the label, conjuring romantic images of pristine, snow-capped peaks far from modern pollution. The reality? That rock was blasted out of underground caverns hundreds of kilometers away from the real Himalayas, often using industrial explosives. On your tongue, it tastes harsh, leaving a dry, metallic astringency that lingers in the throat. At $4.80 for a small 115-gram jar, it works out to a staggering $41.70 per kilogram. You are paying luxury artisan prices for commodity rock salt, carrying measurable heavy metal loads. Public health researcher Dr. Rosemary Stanton has repeatedly cautioned that the purported health miracles of pink rock salts are pure marketing fiction designed to justify astronomical retail markups. A dissatisfied home cook wrote, "Expensive, leaves a gritty red sediment in pasta water and tastes completely bitter." The famous brand name did not buy you cleaner minerals. It just bought a much higher grocery receipt. Moving into the organic space, number 5 is macro-organic pink Himalayan salt. Sold exclusively throughout Woolworths as their trusted green label health range, Macro is specifically targeted at wellness-focused parents, pregnant mums, and conscious eaters who actively avoid chemicals. You buy Macro because you genuinely want the safest, cleanest food for your household. But EPA-certified laboratory testing on commercial certified organic pink salts revealed shocking results. Lead levels reaching up to 180 parts per billion, arsenic over 33 parts per billion, and detectable cadmium. Think about the betrayal. Parents pay extra for that green organic logo, seasoning baby purees and school lunches, completely unaware that lead is a non-threshold neurotoxin. Food Standards Australia New Zealand maintains that no level of lead is safe for developing brains. The salt has a dense, mineral-heavy crunch that does not dissolve cleanly in cold dishes, leaving hard, sandy specks. At $3.20 for 250 grams, it costs over $12.80 a kilo, a hefty premium over regular salt. As pediatric health advocate Dr. Philip Landrigan has documented extensively, chronic low-level lead ingestion from daily seasonings quietly accumulates in bone and brain tissue over decades. A frustrated mum commented on a forum, "I bought this thinking it was the purest thing in Woolies, only to find out organic certification does not test for natural heavy metal deposits. The green label promised clean living, but delivered heavy metal accumulation." At number 4, we have Chef's Choice Himalayan Pink Rock Salt. Found in gourmet delis, independent IGAs, and Harris Farm markets, Chef's Choice markets heavily to passionate foodies with elegant packaging and claims of 84 vital trace minerals. That 84 mineral claim is plastered across gourmet packaging to convince you that regular salt is nutritionally dead and this is a superfood. What the marketing conveniently omits is that those unrefined trace minerals include lead, arsenic, cadmium, mercury, and aluminium. Independent lab tests of these high-mineral pink salts revealed staggering aluminum levels of 242.8 parts per million and lead spiking at 170.6 parts per billion. The 2020 peer-reviewed study published in the journal Foods proved definitively that the darker the pink pigment, the higher the toxic heavy metal load. When you taste it, there is an unmistakable muddy, iron-heavy aftertaste that completely masks the natural sweetness of fresh food. At $6.50 for a 200-gram tub, it drains your wallet at over $32 a kilo. Nutrition scientist Dr. Joanna McMillan confirmed that you would need to consume lethal, kidney-destroying amounts of sodium to get even a fraction of your daily magnesium from pink salt. A verified review noted, "Ruined my delicate seafood broth with a muddy mineral taste and gritty sediment." Chef's Choice packaged toxic geological reality and sold it as dietary enlightenment. Reaching the top tier of gourmet salts, number 3 is San Francisco salt company Sherpa Pink, widely sold across Australian health food shops, specialty grocers, and online. Marketed as artisan, hand-harvested rock salt, it commands huge prices from fitness enthusiasts who use it not just for cooking, but in pre-workout hydration drinks and morning soul water tonics. Yet independent laboratory testing showed Sherpa Pink contained the single highest aluminium concentration among tested rock salts at 251.8 parts per million, alongside lead at 133 parts per billion. To make matters worse, a 2022 study in environmental science and pollution research discovered coarse pink rock salt carried extreme microplastic loads introduced during heavy crushing, mechanical screening, and synthetic bagging. When dissolved in water, it leaves a cloudy residue with an oily sheen on the surface. At $18 for a 1 kilogram bag, you are paying top dollar for chronic daily exposure to aluminium and microplastics. Toxicologist Dr. Alex Polyakov warned that consuming high aluminium rock salts daily in high-volume hydration routines creates unnecessary bioaccumulative risk in neural tissues. A reviewer wrote, "Dissolved it in warm water for a morning detox drink and was horrified by the grey sludge and plastic fibres settling at the bottom." Artisan claims on the front label clearly do not protect you from industrial contaminants in the lab. Now we enter the absolute heavyweights of the natural health movement. Number 2 on our list is Redmond Real Salt. Imported from an ancient seabed in Utah and stocked in nearly every Australian health food store, organic grocer, and functional medicine clinic from Perth to Sydney, Redmond is treated like holy water by the keto, paleo, and wellness communities. Influencers swear by its ancient, unpolluted origin story, claiming it was formed millions of years before modern man created pollution. But independent EPA-certified lab analysis, commissioned by consumer groups, revealed Redmond Real Salt contained an astonishing 252.2 parts per billion of lead, 229 parts per million of aluminium, and 7.3 parts per billion of cadmium, the highest cadmium level across the entire test panel. Separate testing by LeadSafe Mama confirmed lead spiking up to 290 parts per billion, nearly 60 times the proposed safety threshold for children's food. The salt has a distinctive reddish-tan fleck, tasting intensely earthy with a lingering sulfurous grit that refuses to dissolve in sauces. At $19.50 for a 454-gram pouch, it costs an outrageous $43 a kilogram. When confronted with third-party testing, the brand cited internal tests showing lower figures, but never made those raw lab sheets public for independent verification. Preventive health specialist Dr. Bruce Lanphier emphasized that cadmium and lead from unrefined mineral salts accumulate relentlessly in human kidneys and cardiovascular tissue. An online reviewer posted, "Paid $40 a kilo because my naturopath insisted on it, only to find out it is loaded with heavy metals. The ancient seabed was dirty millions of years before humans arrived, and you are paying a fortune to eat it." Finally, the most shocking revelation of this entire investigation. Number 1 is Celtic Sea Salt by Selena Naturally. Sold across Australian health food chains, Chemist Warehouse wellness aisles, and organic grocers nationwide, this is the doctor-recommended holy grail. Holistic practitioners recommend it by name, and health-conscious Aussies willingly shell out big money because they believe it is the cleanest, most therapeutic salt on earth. The packaging boasts traditional hand harvesting from the coastal marshes of Brittany using wooden tools. Yet independent laboratory testing published shocking data. Celtic Sea Salt Fine Ground registered a catastrophic 553.4 parts per billion of lead, the highest lead level of any consumer salt product tested across the entire global panel. It also contained 82.2 parts per billion of arsenic and 171 parts per million of aluminium. That lead level is over 110 times higher than the safety action level proposed for children. The salt is visibly damp, grey and clumpy, leaving a slick, muddy residue on fingers and a heavy, brackish, metallic taste on the palate. At $16 for a 454-gram bag, it equals over $35 a kilo. The company defended its numbers by arguing they sit below the international trade limit of 2,000 parts per billion, a standard designed for bulk industrial raw materials, not everyday family cooking. Public health toxicologist Dr. Nicole Bilesma stated plainly, "Calling a salt with over 500 parts per billion of lead a health supplement is an absolute failure of consumer protection." A heartbroken customer wrote, "Use this exclusively throughout my entire pregnancy and baby weaning because my doctor recommended it. I feel completely sickened." The most celebrated, most expensive health salt in the country turned out to be the undisputed heavy metal champion of the entire supermarket aisle. Right, here comes the part that made watching this far worth it. You do not need to throw your hands up and abandon seasoning your food altogether. The truth is that when you strip away predatory wellness marketing and bleached industrial factory garbage, there are exceptional, genuinely pristine salts available right across Australia. These are products that went through the exact same independent laboratory gauntlets, under rigorous EPA-certified screening protocols, and came back sparkling clean. No detectable lead, no toxic arsenic spikes, zero synthetic cyanide anti-caking agents, and no microplastic sludge hiding in the bottom of your saucepan. Let us start with the ultimate everyday kitchen workhorse, Olsen's Raw Macrobiotic Sea Salt and their Pure Flake range. If you want a genuine homegrown champion that you can pick up at Woolworths, Coles, Harris Farm, or your local independent IGA, this is where you look. Olsen is Australia's oldest family-owned salt producer, harvesting pure sea salt since 1948 from the pristine waters of the Great Australian Bight and Eyre Peninsula. Unlike industrial operations that boil brine using fossil fuels or chemical additives, Olsen relies entirely on clean solar evaporation powered by sun and sea breeze. Because Eyre Peninsula waters are among the most remote and untouched marine environments on the planet, independent lab screenings show non-detectable levels of heavy metals like lead and arsenic, with zero synthetic flow agents added. When you crush these pure crystals between your fingers, there is no greasy clay residue or metallic grit. It hits the tongue with a clean, crisp, oceanic brightness that enhances food rather than overpowering it with an earthy, muddy tang. Price-wise, it is an absolute steal. You can grab a 250-gram pouch of Olsen's pure natural sea salt for around $2.50 to $4.00, working out to barely $10 to $15 a kilogram. Compare that to the $35 a kilo you were paying for contaminated imported pink rock or French mud. Food scientist Dr. Cameron Bell noted that solar evaporated sea salts sourced from monitored open ocean basins retain natural trace mineral ratios without the heavy metal contamination inherent in deep ancient rock deposits. It suits literally every Aussie household looking for an everyday cooking and seasoning salt that is clean, local, and exceptionally affordable. The only minor catch is that because it contains zero chemical anti-caking agents, it can naturally draw a tiny bit of moisture in humid coastal climates. But keeping it in a sealed ceramic cellar or glass jar solves that instantly. Stepping up into world-class kitchen performance, our second clean option is Murray River Salt Flakes. Sourced directly from the underground saline aquifers of the Murray-Darling Basin near Hatta in Victoria, this iconic peach-hued flake is an Australian treasure found in Woolies, Coles, gourmet delis, and high-end restaurant kitchens across the country. What makes Murray River salt completely unique is that its delicate, natural apricot colour does not come from toxic iron oxide veins or dirty heavy metal rock strata. It comes entirely from harmless, mineral-rich red algae that thrive in the ancient underground brine. Because the saline water is pumped from deep subterranean aquifers to help manage regional land salinity, it is naturally filtered through layers of sand and clay, completely free from modern ocean microplastics. Independent testing rounds confirmed Murray River salt is non-detect for lead, arsenic, cadmium, and industrial chemical residues. The sensory experience is phenomenal. Delicate, fragile, pyramid-shaped flakes that melt instantly upon touching hot food, delivering an extraordinarily mellow, rounded, savoury finish without a single hint of harsh bitterness or sandy crunch. At roughly $8.00 for a 250-gram tub, it works out to about $32.00 a kilo. While that sits higher than basic table salt, a single pinch of these hollow, featherweight flakes covers twice the surface area of dense, granular rocks, meaning you use far less total sodium per meal. Renowned Australian culinary educator and chef Peter Gilmore has praised Murray River flakes for their unparalleled dissolving speed and pure, sweet salinity. This option is ideal for passionate home cooks, barbecue enthusiasts, and anyone who wants an elite finishing salt that looks stunning on a dinner plate while remaining completely spotless in laboratory testing. Finally, the undisputed king of verified clean finishing salts across the globe, Maldon's Sea Salt Flakes. Packaged in that distinctive cardboard box and available down the spice aisle of every Woolworths, Coles, and boutique grocer in Australia, Maldon is the global gold standard for a reason. Handcrafted in Essex, England by the same family since 1882, Maldon takes pure seawater, meticulously filters it through clean mechanical channels, and slowly evaporates it in small batches under gentle, controlled heat. In independent laboratory screenings by toxicologist panels and lead-safe mama testing, Maldon came back completely non-detect for lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury across every single batch. Its ingredient list is precisely one word: sea salt. There are no bleaching agents, no dextrose, no synthetic silicates, and zero chemical stabilizers. On the palate, Maldon delivers that legendary razor-thin pyramid crunch that shatters effortlessly across sliced tomatoes, grilled ribeyes, or fresh sourdough with butter. It gives you immediate, brilliant bursts of flavor without leaving a chalky chemical film on the roof of your mouth. A 240-gram box costs around $7 to $8 at Coles or Woolies, which seems premium until you realize a single box used as a finishing salt easily lasts a busy kitchen 4 to 6 months, costing you less than 10 cents a day. As analytical food chemist Dr. Julian Cox noted, the clean geometry of low-temperature salt crystals delivers maximum palate impact using significantly lower total mass. It is the perfect choice for anyone who demands complete peace of mind, zero heavy metals, and restaurant-quality flavor every time they cook. Now that you know what is genuinely lurking inside the spice aisle, here is how you take complete control of your pantry starting today. Memorize these 6 practical shopping rules the next time you walk into Coles, Woolies, ALDI, or your local IGA. First, treat the ingredient list as a strict single-word test. The back panel should state sea salt or salt, and absolutely nothing else. Second, run a mile from code numbers 535, 554, and 553 on Aussie nutritional panels, which mask synthetic sodium ferrocyanide, aluminosilicates, and industrial talc. Third, never buy into the 84 trace minerals marketing pitch. In unrefined rock salt, that high mineral count is almost always code for geological lead, arsenic, and aluminium. Fourth, reject bright pink or muddy grey rock crystals in favour of clean white flakes or translucent solar crystals. Fifth, check for transparent Australian coastal sourcing or closed basin production like the Eyre Peninsula or Victorian subterranean aquifers over anonymous overseas mass packaging. Sixth, ditch built-in cheap plastic grinders entirely, as grinding coarse, hard crystals through brittle plastic teeth introduces thousands of microplastic particles directly onto hot food. The entire commercial salt industry thrives on a single psychological trick, convincing you that aggressive chemical refinement is necessary for shelf life, while selling dirty geological residue at a tenfold markup as a luxury health cure. The moment you realize that true purity is about what has been kept out rather than what fancy story has been glued on, you become completely immune to supermarket deception. You do not need expensive imported wellness rocks to nourish your family. You just need clean, unadulterated salt produced by honest methods. Thank you so much for investing your time to uncover the truth with me today. You definitely have family or mates who are currently seasoning their kids' dinners with heavy metal-laden pink rocks or chemical-laced shakers. So share this video with them right now to save their health and their grocery budget. Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, which brand is sitting next to your stove right now, and which clean alternative are you switching to? Keep an eye out for our upcoming expose on toxic cooking oils hiding in plain sight. Choose what is clean, not what is painted pink.